Welcome, downtown Sioux Falls Rotarians and your guests, to our first virtual meeting of our club ever. While these are challenging and unprecedented times in our lives and businesses, there are some silver linings. I've never been more grateful for technology than I am today. It allows us to communicate directly with all of you. It allows us virtually to see our families that we can't be with during these unprecedented times. I'm also grateful for unhurried time with the people that I am self-isolating with. We're proceeding at a slower pace because we have the time. We're not going from event to event or eating dinner in our car like we've had hundreds of times. So for those things, I'm grateful. I want to introduce and welcome our moderator today, Tony Knorr from First Premier Bank, a senior vice president there, and Jaime Wood with the U.S. Small Business Administration. She is the South Dakota District Office Director. Jaime moved here from North Dakota a year ago as a South Dakota native. I'm not sure that this is as far south as she thought she would be going. But today she and Tony are going to talk specifically about the U.S. Treasury CARES Act and the establishment of PPP under that, and possibly have some time to talk about EIDL as well. While Rotarians can ask questions on our Facebook feed, know that we can't answer your business-specific questions in the interest of time. We hope to have a very informative conversation today and hope you'll join us next week when Senator John Thune is our guest.
Thank you, President Jesse, and thank you, Jaime, for being here today.
My pleasure, thank you.
We know you've had a busy number of weeks and appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us, to share. And for our Rotarians, our members, we're going to focus a lot of our time today on the Paycheck Protection Program. There's a lot of information out there, and we want to provide you good content around that program, the SBA, the U.S. Treasury's role in that. And I'll start us off by talking the public policy portion of this. Jesse mentioned the CARES Act. That was signed into law by President Trump on the 27th, just a couple Fridays ago. And that legislation allowed for about $350 billion to be utilized under the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, with the intent and the goal, the objective, to keep that relationship of the employer and the employee, to keep that intact. That's the intent of the legislation that was put in place. And banks are working hard, SBA is working hard to get information out to those it serves. And we thought it'd be timely to share information about that. A lot of business owners, we've had changes. Like we said, this is unprecedented times, and we want to get you the information that you need. So that's really the intent. And I would say in terms of our strategy this time as a government versus 08, 09, when we allowed for unemployment to increase and we didn't keep that relationship in place. We're taking a different approach this time, and my personal opinion is it's one that we'll be more successful with, to allow businesses to maintain that relationship. So when we get through this, and we will, that you still have those employees as business comes back and you build up from where we're at. So let's go ahead and get started. Jaime, let's talk about eligibility. Who can apply for the Paycheck Protection Program?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tony, and to the Downtown Sioux Falls Rotary for this session today. So eligibility is pretty broad for this program, and you lined it out. This really is meant to get funding in place immediately to help employers keep their employees employed, moreover paid for at least the next 8 weeks, and that's where we're at with this phase right now. There is some talk out there about what's going to happen in the future, but right now what we're going to talk about today is what we do have in place. So the folks that are eligible as far as small businesses for this right now, and this started on April 3rd, so last Friday the application process opened up for the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP or P3, whatever you like to call it, for small businesses and sole sole proprietors. So small businesses and sole proprietors right now can apply through your local lenders wherever you're located. What we've heard back, and our team at the U.S. Small Business Administration has been working diligently, including 24/7 through the weekends with small banks too. So not just the big banks, but also the small banks across rural South Dakota, because besides Sioux Falls and Rapid City, every other piece of South Dakota is rural, and some of the Sioux Falls businesses may have bankers that are in small areas. So if you have a lender relationship, you can go right through them right now.
Yeah, thank you.
And then for the April 10th date coming up, so this Friday are when general, independent contractors, for instance, can make the application.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, eligibility, like you said, is broad, and we're encouraging many of our customers to take a hard look at the program. You mentioned when we can apply, so just and maybe I'll just step back. Some of these questions, since I'm with the financial institution and Jamie's with the SBA, some she may be in a better position to answer. Some I may answer or provide some input as well. So wanted to set expectations there. But you mentioned the direct relationship with the bank. Maybe talk about that and talk about what's needed to apply.
You bet. So the way that this P3 program is designed is to be very user-friendly. And you mentioned the word unprecedented. We're hearing that word a lot, but it is because this is unique. It's the first time this has ever been done. SBA is almost 70 years old, and this is the absolute first time that we've ever put a loan program in place aligned with the Department of Treasury and the White House in a way that is super swift and friendly to small businesses. So there's very low criteria required for this type of loan. You have to be able to, this loan is designed to get your employees paid for 8 weeks from the time of origination. So if your loan originates today, the clock starts ticking. You have 8 weeks to pay your employees. At least 75% of your loan will be paid to your employees, and then there's a 25% that can cover mortgage, interest, lease, and some utility costs as well. And that calculation is going to be done with the lenders, and they will help you determine, based on your payroll, mostly from 2019, on how you can get to that, whatever that loan amount is. I mean, we do these loans up to $10 million. Now, if you're a mom and pop shop that only employs maybe 2 or 5 employees, you're not going to need up to $10 million. But if you're another small business, maybe manufacturing, maybe the part of the airline industry that has, there's certain industries that have hundreds of employees and they actually do millions of dollars in payroll every month. So, that might be eligible, something for them.
Yeah. At First Premier, and you're right. This is different underwriting than we've done. We're really underwriting your payroll. We're minimal requirements. Some tax form, usually a 940, and payroll reports, W-2s, W-3, and it's a pretty quick process. We'll talk a little bit more about how you can ensure that your application moves through the pipeline.
I just wanted
quickly.
just one little caveat on that too. Those are the documents that you'll need. It is based primarily off of the 2019 payroll. So your payroll and your accountants, your CPAs, maybe your attorneys are going to be very helpful in getting you the documentation. If you do it in-house, I want to be very clear that this program is not on the shoulders of the lenders to prove their payroll. It is on the shoulders of the borrower, the small business, to actually make sure that you make the case that you need this loan for your payroll for the next 8 weeks. And so, and that's also unprecedented because typically SBA has put a lot of pressure on lenders to make sure that there's a lot of documentation and support criteria in that loan. This is different. This one, it's on the borrowers to make the case. You bring in your documentation. You mentioned the tax papers, payroll. We are getting a lot of questions from small businesses that maybe don't have their taxes done for 2019 yet, because it caught us all off guard. I didn't get mine done yet either. So For folks that don't have that yet, if you have your ledgers, or whether they're virtual or physical, you bring that in to your lenders, and the lenders will help you sort that out. And then also for some folks who might have different types of payroll, I know we've heard about guarantee and K funds and whatnot. So that's some policy that's still being looked at, but we recommend that you still go through the process to make the application. And we're building this airplane as we fly it, so to say. So we are learning more every day, and the policy is getting more refined every day. It's opening up to more types of small businesses every day. So we just get in and apply, and your lender is going to help guide you through. The lenders are working with SBA to make sure that they have what they need, and also with the Department of Treasury to make sure that we're getting it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know most banks are posting, or they're providing you with what they need. This time more than ever, we would ask that you submit a completed application and go through it twice. Places where you need an initial, those documents, and we don't need any more than that. But to streamline our processes, would ask that you take a little extra time on the front end, and we believe that will be provide for a quicker response from banks that are really, like you said, building our systems around this. A lot of this guidance came out last week. We are doing everything we can to get back to you in a timely manner. And one thing that you can do to help with that is take a little time, work with your accountant, have that calculation readily available for the banker, where we can go and put check marks and then send it through. So. You talked about kind of getting to the bank. Talk a little bit about how much can you apply for?
How much can you apply for the, okay.
I own a business. I employ 20 individuals. Talk a little bit about the mechanics of that application, what a Rotarian or one of our viewers can expect.
Yeah, I mean, there has been some questions about that, because the cap is at $10 million. And by the way, that's on and I know people will chuckle about this because it's on a 2-year term at 1% interest, and a lot of people are like, how am I going to pay back $10 million? But the bottom line is the loan is really going to be based back again on that payroll documentation. Based off of 2019, if you are somebody who has a business that is seasonal, there are some caveats in there too that it would take longer to get into. So for those, just write your information in the chat on the Facebook. I've got staff right now that are answering some of those, but you also can connect with us at the South Dakota District Office, and we'll guide you through your individual needs for that. But what we're finding is that number, that calculation of what people actually can get, is just as unique as what the business is. So if you are somebody who has, you're your own employee, or maybe you have 500 employees, it's going to range that way. What we are seeing, though, are that this is already being, the applications are coming in South Dakota too. Many banks have taken in applications all through the weekend, and that these loans are actually getting dispersed very quickly. So today and tomorrow, so Monday and Tuesday, you're really going to see in South Dakota that people are getting funds in their accounts already. And as we move through this, we're going to see this really smooth out this week, and people are going to have a little bit of a breather, for the next 8 weeks, at least to be able to pay your employees, pay your mortgage interest, your lease, your utilities, to keep you going at a minimal level. And that's very important right now, because we are in triage mode, and this is meant, this isn't a, for some businesses, they are flourishing in this disaster time. For other businesses, they feel like they are, have a sucking chest wound, like they're just bleeding and they're not going to be able to survive. This is meant to triage, get that tourniquet on your business, keep you going, and as we move into potentially the next phase, and our, many of our elected leaders are talking about that from the White House on down, they're working hard to look at what that need is going to will be beyond the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I've had some business owners ask, well, business is okay yet, starting to feel it, should I apply? We've encouraged our customers, we don't know what the next 8 to 12 weeks will look like, to have that certainty and to be able to look at your employees and tell them, hey, we have the funds here to ensure that you're employed, even if you don't come to work. Those are conversations that we're having. So, and we'll get to that here in a bit.
That's
but thank
a good
you.
idea.
And you mentioned you brought up the 8 weeks and the eligible payroll costs. And what we've been sharing with our customers, it's really wages, commissions, up to 100,000, and then some of the benefits can be included in there. If you're matching retirement, if you're paying health benefits, those things can also be included in that calculation. And like you said, it's 8 weeks, and that 8 weeks doesn't have to start today. It can start a few weeks from now. But thank you for pointing that out.
And then another little addition on that, up to 100,000. So the way that SBA is interpreting that is, if you make more than 100,000, that's okay. It's just up to 100,000 that is eligible. So even if you make more money than that a year, you can't go beyond that. So if you made 200,000, that you can't claim that on your payroll. You can claim up to 100,000.
Yeah, so that employee could still
per employee. Yep.
You could still be eligible for up to 100.
Right.
In the calculation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that calculation is really looking at the last year. You mentioned 2019. Dividing that number by 12 and taking that by 2.5. And the half, like you mentioned, is the mortgage, the rent, the interest expense, and utilities. So.
And 75% of that loan has to go to payroll. That other 25% would cover those extra expenses, but this loan is not meant for growth, for revenue growth. It's only meant to cover the payroll and the other operational expenses we mentioned. We'll talk later about perhaps about the EIDL loan, the emergency injury disaster loan. That loan is broader for more different types of uses actually. Other operational expenses like supply chain and whatnot.
Yeah, okay. But this is, like we said, very directed to keep that relationship intact. You mentioned terms of the loan. What can our members, those watching, what can they expect when they sign those loan documents?
You bet. So when this application gets made, and it is a very fast process, once it's starting to move now, when you fill out the application, and it's a 2-page application, and it's very specific, but it's very succinct. When you fill it out, it's going to ask you to confirm certain criteria. You are going to be asked to be certifying. So you're not only giving your word, you're certifying that you can prove that you're going to be able to use this loan in the way that it's meant for, to pay your employees. If you do that, you follow the parameters, this loan is 100% forgivable. So how that process would work is you fill out the application, it originates, you go through your 8-week period of using the loans, and then you come back to your lender, and that's when you request for it to be forgiven. So you do that, there's phases to this. You do that at the end of the 8 weeks. The lender then has 60 days to review to make sure that those funds were spent in the appropriate manner that they're meant for. And once that approval is granted, that goes away. Now, all of this is nested inside of a 6-month deferment on that loan. So you're not going to have to pay any loan payments for at least 6 months. And as long as you can prove that you used the funds in the way they were meant for, it's going to be forgivable, and any type of payment that you might have to make would be maybe some interest, a very small portion of the loan, and that would be able to be paid for over 2 years at a 1% interest rate. Now, if you don't use the loan according to the parameters, you'll be expected to pay the loan off in 2 years at that 1%, but there are also other potential ramifications. You could be held, even more liable by the U.S. government. So we want to make sure people know this is used for payroll, and then that other 25% for some of your utilities, lease, or mortgage interest.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. And those are conversations that banks are having with their customers to ensure on the front end that there's no surprises on the back end. And what we've talked to our customers about is a segregation of those funds that come from this loan, whether that's a separate account, which may make sense in a lot of cases, or separate accounting, to make sure that you know every dollar coming out of that bucket is going for one of those eligible costs. If you do that, at the end of the day, even if there is a difference in the eligible cost versus what's allowed, you're going to have that money in your account and be able to pay that off and move forward.
Yeah, there's this is kind of a unique rollout too, because with all the probably millions actually of different lenders across the United States, and certainly thousands here in South Dakota, each one has kind of got a little bit of autonomy where they can roll it out in their own way. Some are requiring that you open an account with them to manage just those PPP funds, and other ones are not. And I have seen some discussion and different chat groups, across social media over the last few days, the last 3 days actually, Friday and then the weekend, about how some clients are, they're a little skeptical about why maybe that additional account is offered. But frankly, I mean, and this certainly is not an endorsement, because banks they can manage this program however they want, because, they also have some skin in the game on this, and they want to make sure those funds get used in the way that best suits the small businesses, because we want you to keep that connection with your employees. We want employees to be paid, and so by keeping that either managed in a separate account that's just unique to the P3 loan, it's not a bad idea. Or at least making sure, like you said, that the accountant or the lawyer, whoever is doing your bookkeeping, is keeping those funds completely separate for this 8-week period. It's in your best interest as a small business.
Yeah, great advice. Whether it's required by your banker, we believe, and that it's important that you know and fully understand when you start what to expect on the back end. So thank you for pointing that out. You talked about the certifications. What a customer or what a business needs to certify. You talk a little bit about that. When they sign their name or sign that application, what are they attesting to?
Yeah, what you're attesting to is just making sure that your documentation is in place and that it's actually factual. Again, it's going to be unique for whatever the business type of industry that it is, or how many employees they have. So not just type of industry, but type of business, whether you're a small business or you're a sole proprietor or a independent contractor, for instance, you're going to have different types of proof that you have to give. So the bank will, on the application, there's several different lines of criteria, and those are available online on the SBA website, sba.gov/paycheck protection. There's an application, and you can get in and see the specific requirements. The Department of Treasury, if you just do an online search for Department of Treasury, you'll come to their main page. You click on the coronavirus or COVID-19 response, and it takes you to this wonderful page that has so many different fact sheets, FAQs, the application for the small business, lender information, borrower information. And I'm actually recommending to small businesses and lenders and ecosystem partners too, including like Rotary members, to get in and read all the different types of requirements, so you understand what's on the shoulders of the lender, you understand what's on the shoulders of the borrower, and it's very easy to digest information.
Yeah, it's not a long list, but there are requirements. And we talked about terms of the loan. This is different for us bankers. There's no personal guarantee. There's no collateral. There's no cash flow analysis. This is really understanding what you've paid in the past and us agreeing to what you're going to pay over the next 8 weeks and coming to terms with that. So thank you for pointing that out. We have, and I'm sure I know at our organization and others out there have questions around the timeline of this program. Could you tell us, we're in our second business day, what can we expect in terms of how long this program will last?
Absolutely. So we don't have a number, a rock hard number to give you of how many of these loans have been applied for or originated at this point. I can tell you the number is a lot, but it's just a drop in the bucket compared to how much is still available. You must make your application by June 30th for this program. I wouldn't wait. Frankly, what we have right now is what we have now. And so whether your business is feeling the negative impact from COVID-19 yet or not, I still wouldn't wait. And I would get the application in with your lender. If you haven't contacted your lender at all in the last 3 weeks, this is a good time to do it. That is just something that's part of the regular battle rhythm for the small business, that you should be constantly nurturing that relationship with your lender, whether we're in a disaster time or not. But this is the perfect time to have those deep and meaningful conversations with your lenders, and to go ahead and apply for this loan. If you get this loan and you decide that this is really a free gift, if you will. I mean, it's forgivable. So as long as you're within the parameters, you can save your steady state capital that you use for operations, and you can pay your employees right now on this loan that's going to be forgivable for 8 weeks. So it's just a wonderful benefit, unprecedented. We've never offered anything like this before. It's super business friendly. It's almost too good to be true. That's why people are kind of hesitating as we're moving forward. And that's important too, is to talk about that decision cycle. This is not a time for decision paralysis, which a lot of times happens normally in a time of disaster. Not only are we, trying to, personally, each one of us is worried about getting sick, or one of our loved ones or our friends getting sick. And we understand that, and we're all coping individually on that. But if you're running a business, this is a time really to be a boss. No kidding on that, and make boss decisions that are tough. And some of those are, bringing your people back to work when you're not bringing revenue in. But this nice package, this PPP loan, is a great tool in the toolkit for the small businesses right now, and I recommend jumping on it. Don't wait till June 30th. If you wait till June 30th and you make your application to June 30th, and if there's money left on June 30th, the origination would still be that start date for the next 8 weeks into June. So this wouldn't go further until the middle of June, unless of course they expand it as we go. But for right now, that's what we know.
We don't know that today. Thank you, and I'll reiterate that. Get your application in. We don't necessarily need to close. So if you're not sure, I don't know that I'll need the money this month, get your application in. We can secure those funds for you, run it through the system to make sure that you're reassured that you have your dollars allocated, and then we can find a time that works for you and works, really works for the business owner, to line that up with a payroll. And we're really looking to our customers to tell us, when do you want to close? Right. What makes the most sense? Yep. You brought up a good point in terms of, what if I already laid off my staff? I would, with that, this is really a time the government is directing dollars. They realize, Congress realizes, we're either paying unemployment on one side, or we're gonna put these dollars directly where they need to go. So I'd encourage you to strongly consider keeping your folks if you haven't laid them off, or bringing them back and provide assurance for them and their families. This is a big deal for our community, and we're going to have, over the next couple weeks, millions of dollars that are going out, that are going to be used for those families to stay current on their obligations. Yep. So when you look at it from that perspective, and that certainty that you can provide, not only for yourself as a business, but for the families that are in our community, it's so critical that you take action.
And you addressed it a little bit earlier too about this. This is meant to bring employees back on the payroll. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be on premise working or even teleworking. If you have a shop that doesn't exist in the virtual world, and teleworking is not, maybe you're retail and you don't have an online presence, and so you're not able to have people telework, it's okay. This is meant to get people paid for 2 months whether they're working or not. And we understand that you're not bringing revenue in maybe at this time, but this is really a gift for you to be able to have that connection with your employees and take care of them. So it's pretty important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
And it's counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive
It is.
for you, the business owner. I can tell you it's counterintuitive for us, the banker, that I mean, really the program, you're going to take a loan that you're not expecting to pay back, assuming you follow the guidelines. And we are originating a loan as a lender that we're not expecting you to pay back. So this is, for our bankers, this has been an adjustment period. For our customers, this has been an adjustment period.
Yeah.
And to really get comfortable with that. And a lot of our customers have never borrowed.
Right.
Never borrowed. And we're having to have conversations with them around that. So wanted to point that out and also point out, we talked about requirements. There may be some things, if you haven't taken out a loan recently or had your information updated, minimal requirements, but we're still required from a Bank Secrecy Act to take driver's license information and make sure we know who we're doing business with. Because that is a question that we get often is, well, fraud is going to be significant. There's absolutely a possibility there, but that's why the government said, for us to push out this $350 billion, we need to rely on banks.
Yeah.
Banks know their customers. We know you know us. That direct relationship is so important, and that's been an important part of this process, and I think why this program is going to be successful.
Absolutely, and I'm really glad that you mentioned the security factor of that too. We've gotten a lot of calls from small businesses and from lenders and ecosystem partners, chambers of commerce and different entities, elected leadership, congressional and state leaders asking about the safety of this program and also the rollout. So, we had a bumpy ride over the last few days, but part of the reason is because now that the lenders are going to be facilitating this, or not just going to be, but they are facilitating this. We want to make sure that the security of the system is intact. And so even though the lenders are doing this directly now, they actually are using SBA databases to process these loans. And we want to make sure that your information is safe from perpetrators, and so there are some onboarding requirements that the lenders have had to take, and it's moving now really quickly and smoothly, and we're really excited to get these tools to you, the funds to the small businesses.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that's important. We're all living differently than we were 30 or 45 days ago. The SBA is allowing for e-signatures, removing the requirement for wet signatures, so making things as easy as possible for you not to have to come into your bank and be able to do this. But it's important, and that is our job as bankers, to keep your information confidential and provide an opportunity for you to get that to us securely, and then subsequently turn around and work with the SBA through their channels. So thank you because that is important, because this is all your payroll information for your entire organization, and for us as lenders, that's very important for us to keep that confidential, and that's that direct relationship.
Yeah, and I think it's important too to talk about that a little bit more, about the relationship with the lender. Many people, and we might have touched on this a little bit earlier, but I just can't drive it home enough. That relationship with your lender is so critical. And we know in a time when there's a high level of stress and a high level of decision making, and even a high level of being able to access many different types of banks at once. Some banks might have been able to start doing these applications on Friday. Maybe it wasn't your bank, maybe it was your bank. And what I'm hearing from a lot of small businesses, and I got these questions across the weekend coming to me, and really just try to encourage small businesses to hang in there with their bank, whether their bank is rolling right now with these applications or not. So maybe they're a big city lender, or maybe they're a rural lender, and they were having a little bit of a ramp up to be able to supply these loans. Please be patient with your lenders and let them get get it set so that they can protect you and they can serve you, and you will not be sorry by keeping your very strong business relationship in there. The lenders are not giving up on you, and please hang in there with the lenders and with SBA as well during this time, because we just really are trying to roll out a huge national disaster response effort. And a lot of times we tend to think, that we're in our own bubble and that we are on an island alone. But I guarantee you there are millions of small businesses and nonprofits that are in this predicament right now, and we're working really closely to make sure that you get what you need. And you're going to see this really smooth out this week, and we're going to have a lot of happy customers.
Agreed.
Again,
We're building, like
yeah.
you said, you're building this. This is really goes back to 2 Fridays ago. So in 10 days, we rolled this out and built our systems.
Yep.
And we know there's one application that matters to you, and that's yours.
Yep.
And we are doing everything that we can to process that. And that gets back to that complete application. If you can make that easy for us, and
Right.
it sounds selfish, but it really speed up the process, and we can move that through our system and get back to you, because we want that. There's no better call for us to make than to call you and say, hey, you've been approved, and you can rest assured know that you have your employees on the payroll for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
So, yeah. With that, anything else, Jamie? We talked a little bit, you brought up the EIDL, the Economic Disaster Recovery. Any other things that you have that you want to share? I mean, the Paycheck Protection Program
Yeah.
is front and center right now. The SBA does a lot of other things outside of that, and a lot of those tools that you mentioned are things that are applicable today, even beyond the PPP.
Yeah, we have some amazing products in place right now that really are meant to help through this disaster time. We also have other products, and believe it or not, we're closing loans for businesses that are still starting, still growing, they're thriving through this. And so there's regular loans that are taking place right now too. And we do all of our SBA lending are done through lenders. So it's a partnership with us. But there is the EIDL loan. That's that emergency injury disaster loan. And that is done directly through the SBA. So if you go to sba.gov/disaster, you'll get to the link, and you'll get to the portal basically where you can actually make your application online. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when we were first rolling this out, we actually were having people do hard copy applications. So millions of those have come in, and SBA has had to ramp up and hire more people to provide specific disaster assistance response. And as that ramp up is taking place, what they found out, it was more expedient to move this application to an online process. So if you are somebody who has put in an EIDL application previously, a hard copy, and you have not heard back yet about your loan, SBA just sent us a note in the last 24 hours and asked to have small businesses go back in. It's a very quick application to do it online, and it's sending it to a processing that's more expedient, and so you're going to hear back a lot faster. So that EIDL, that goes up to $2 million. It's based on a 30-year term at 3.75 for small businesses, 2.75 for nonprofits. Nonprofits are included in, most nonprofits I should say, there are a few caveats, but most nonprofits right now are included in these disaster response packets for the PPP loan and also the EIDL loan. EIDL also has an option on the application where you can click EIDL Advance, and that is an advance on your loan that can go up to $10,000, where you can get that within 3 to 5 business days. Again, they're working out the kinks on that, so people should start seeing those advances coming as well this week very quickly. But that is available. You just have to do the application online. We also have what we call an SBA Express loan that are for customers that already have they're already working with an SBA 7A lender, and this is a type of disaster loan that they can get up and up to $25,000. You don't need a personal guarantee with it. So it's an express bridge is what it's called. So we have many different
Yeah, I think the big one that you hear out there, Jamie, thank you. The big one is the $10,000 grant under the EIDL. I've had a lot of customers inquire on that. And we won't get into all the details, but eyes wide open on that. That will impact the forgiveness on the PPP. So it's important to know that. But we have heard of customers that are getting those dollars. So thank you. And that's a direct relationship with the SBA and the U.S. Treasury. Like Jamie said, an application goes in electronically, and those applications are being processed right now.
Yes, they are. So there are a lot of tools, and the other question we get are, is it something that I should apply for? Should I apply for PPP first or EIDL first, and can I apply for them both? And the answer is we are actually recommending that you apply for the PPP first, but also simultaneously apply for EIDL. And if you get both of them, there's nothing saying that you absolutely have to originate those loans, but it's a good idea to get them in place.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. I'm going to pause there and just see if we have any questions online.
There's one question, is how is the SBA measuring the overall effectiveness, success, and implementation of this stimulus package?
Great question.
Yeah, thank
that
you.
One's for, I think that one's for Jamie.
Thank you very much. So the question is, how is SBA managing how are they collecting the data basically on the success of these programs? So we are actually at headquarters, we are looking at that, and one of the ways that they've started to collect information from the different 68 different field offices, district offices across the U.S., Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands have asked us for some success stories. They also are collecting data on the applications that are coming in and the ones that have been actually originated. And then really, because we have the relationships with small businesses at the local level, asking us for the success stories from the businesses. And so we just got that ask for us in the last couple days. So we are looking, if you are a business who has started to get your lending in place for this and you're using it within the parameters, please do let us know. And for lenders, we'll be reaching out to them. We reach out to our lenders. Well, right now it's multiple times a day, but typically during the week and a regular non-disaster time, we also are in very close contact with hundreds of lenders across, keeping them informed and asking for different success stories. I wanted to also mention that we have a wonderful network of small business guidance counselors that can help people through their decision cycle, can help you with your financial projections right now, absolutely free. So the Small Business Development Centers, Women Business Center in South Dakota, that's SDCEO, Women's Business Center. We have a Veteran Business Outreach Center of the Dakotas, and we have SCORE. And so you can get free business assistance to help you. And this doesn't compete with, your personal bench of CEOs that you already have in place, maybe a CPA or an attorney. These counselors are meant to help you through your decision cycle, and some of them have very high-level technical assistance that they offer, including financial projections and whatnot. So,
yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because the SBA does a whole lot more than the Paycheck Protection Program. I know you've been living it now, but there are resources, and there's been significant investments on the national level and local level to help our business owners, and it's needed now, and it's appreciated. Great question on the impact. We're already starting to see it. I'm sure there'll be much written after we get through this, and we will. But appreciate you being here, Jamie, spending time with us and sharing information that's so timely.
Thank you so much, and good luck, everybody, and we're going to get through this. Thank you.
Thank you.